She wasn't my real aunt, of course. She earned the title by default, as did most of Mother's friends, itinerant acquaintances who became a fleeting entourage of aunts and uncles. Yet this aunt was different from all the others. And on meeting that tall, raven-haired woman for the first time, I wondered if she might be a witch. For reasons unknown to me, I whispered the thought aloud, much to Mother's embarrassment. "Don't be so rude," Mother said. "Of course she isn't. Apologize at once." "Sorry," I mumbled, remaining unconvinced while those watchful green eyes held me spellbound. Her name was Lavinia. Aunt Lavinia, by Mother's insistence. I have no idea how they met or from where she came. All I recall is that she and Mother soon became close friends, owing to Father's recent absence and Mother's tendency towards loneliness. Aunt Lavinia had a striking, albeit unconventional beauty. High cheekbones and an aquiline nose. Her smile, although strangely warming, often possessed a hint of disdain. Quite unsettling the more I think of it, as though she carried a secret she would gladly let slip. Yet, it was her brooch that enthralled me the most. With its stone-polished glass, beveled sides and dark green rose at its centre, each segment contained a leaf, which, on catching the sun, emitted an enigmatic greenish light. Its beauty fascinated me, and that dark green rose reminded me of moss-covered trees and algae-choked ponds, lying stagnant in shady woods. As the weeks passed, I began noticing something more peculiar about that brooch. The rose would alter. Not its shape, but its colour. At times, the vibrant green began to fade, weakening daily until settling to an off-white. Yet what troubled me most was I also noticed a change in Aunt Lavinia. While the petals withered, her complexion grew paler. And as the rose diminished, her spirits dampened. This strange cycle of events usually lasted no more than a week. And then, as though it had never taken place, Aunt Lavinia would arrive with the same vibrancy she displayed on our first encounter, with the brooch's rose in full bloom. I asked Mother about it once, carefully relating my observations. She just shook her head and smiled. "Oh, you are a silly lad at times. You get it from your father." "Get what?" I asked. "A vivid imagination." I never mentioned it to her again. Behaving like Father only disappointed her and made her more mindful of his absence. Instead, I kept such notions to myself, quietly observing Aunt Lavinia and her brooch, a silent witness to their strange, intertwined existence. We were in the garden when I eventually summoned enough courage to ask Aunt Lavinia about her brooch. Blazing under the bright sun, the unkept lawn stirring with things unseen. Mother, forever insistent that we get fresh air, had ushered us outside. When she wandered into the house to fetch more iced water, I seized the opportunity. Regardless of the day's heat, Aunt Lavinia remained dressed in her usual black attire. Only the brooch's green hues offered a hint of contrast, drawing my gaze even though I tried my best to ignore it. "Why do you always wear that?" I said, my voice trembling slightly while I spoke. She fixed me with a stare, and after a long silence said, "Wear what?" "Your brooch," I said, growing more anxious. She glanced at it and smiled. "Why? Don't you like it?" "Of course, it's very beautiful, but—" "Indeed it is," she said, cutting across me before I could finish my sentence. And there lies your answer. I took a deep breath. It's strange, though, don't you think? She tilted her head slightly. What makes you say that? I searched her face for reassurance, but it remained expressionless. The rose, I said. It changes. Changes? Yes, I continued, growing more unsure of myself. The colour fades. Sometimes, like today, for instance, it's a deep green, while other times it's very pale. You must have noticed it. She studied me for a moment. How old do you think I am? The question caught me off guard. I don't know. I'm not very good with ages. Take a guess. I don't know. 30? 40? Aunt Lavinia smiled. I wish. Try again. 60, I said, regretting I ever started the conversation. She let out a dismissive laugh, the intensity of her stare prickling my skin. Oh, I'm far older than that. Despite the day's heat, I shivered slightly. How much older? Her smile melted from her face. Far older than you could ever imagine. She read the doubt in my eyes. You don't believe me? It's not that, well, you don't look like an old person. To be honest, you don't look any older than Mother. Her eyes brightened. Well, there's good reason for that. She smoothed the tips of her fingers over the brooch. It's the brooch, you see. It keeps me young and healthy. How? I said, although a part of me didn't want to know. She regarded me with a cold smile. It gives me what it takes. I don't understand. Takes? Takes what? Her gaze locked onto mine. Essence. Essence? Yes, essence. Lifeblood. Life force. Call it what you will. My heart pounded against my chest. Whose essence? She sighed. Whomever I choose, usually those who displease me. But how does it know? It just does, she said, with an irritated sigh. The rose senses my needs, then gives me what it takes. So many questions rushed into my mind, but I failed to ask any. My breath caught in my throat. All I wanted was to run away, but fear rooted me to the spot, holding me spellbound while I stared into her green eyes. It was the shrill sound of her laughter that broke the silence. Look at your face, she said. I've never seen anyone look so frightened. She let out a dismissive, mocking laugh. Oh, you are a silly lad at times. I'm teasing you. It's not always a good thing, vivid imagination. Folk will have you believing all kinds of nonsense. She was trying too hard to make light of it, downplaying what had just taken place. But her laughter and nonchalant shrugs seemed forced, like an actress playing a part she didn't believe. She maintained the charade even when Mother returned with the water. What's so funny? Mother asked, glancing between us. Oh, nothing, Aunt Lavinia said. Just me being cruel, as always, having a joke at your son's expense. I half expected Mother to defend me, yet all she did was shrug. Well, perhaps he'll learn not to make that so easy in the future. I keep telling him life doesn't favour the gullible. Exactly, Aunt Lavinia said with a cruel smile. That's what I told him. Staring down at the grass, I felt the weight of Aunt Lavinia's gaze bore into me. and afraid of what dark truth I might discover in her eyes, I didn't dare to look up. After the incident in the garden, the same strange dream plagued me every night. In it I would wander across the lawn, stopping at the rose bush, its petals brittle and black, crumbling to ash at my touch. Aunt Lavinia was always present in my dream, standing in the shadows, her brooch glinting against the darkness of her dress. She would watch me in silence, unflinching as I reached towards her brooch. The dome glass shattered at the slightest touch, and the rose, freed from its prison of glass, twisted around my fingers, wrapping its stem around my wrist. I always tried freeing myself, crying out as the rose tightened its grip. Its thorns bit into my skin. One morning, when I awoke, I found rose petals on my pillow and a red scratch mark encircling my wrist. This is just the beginning. Part 2 of Aunt Lavinia's brooch arrives this Sunday at 6 p.m. If you don't want to miss what happens next, follow along and subscribe. It helps to keep these forgotten stories alive.